I just got rid of a page that had almost 17,000 followers. I don't even care. I feel amazing. It's been the best thing that I have done all year. If something tells me to get off this plane because it's not going to make it to its destination. As I'm grabbing my bag and making a scene telling them to let me off this plane, the last episode, oh my God, I was in tears, bitch. I was ready to go to the doctor and get my autism diagnosis so I can apply for season 4. It's because he is a liberal and I am hella not. Gay people are overly sensitive and cry about everything, and I am not. Literally just got done crying. I feel like I have God, but I'm losing everyone. And I don't know how to process that. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Casualtea podcast. My name is Kona, and welcome to episode 11. 11 episodes. I'm so proud of myself. You guys, I do have an idea for this podcast. If you watch this on YouTube just YouTube, because I think this obviously has to just be a YouTube thing. If I end up doing this, I've just really been wanting to go in on this podcast and put more of my attention to that, which is really the reason I left Instagram, and we'll get into that later. I have an idea, if you watch these podcasts on YouTube, about doing a behind the scenes series on this podcast page. So the behind the scenes series will be just maybe weekly vlog type content on this podcast page, as well as obviously these podcast episodes. And so if you guys think that's a good idea, if you guys are on YouTube and watch this on YouTube, let me know in the comment section below if that is something you guys would be interested in, or if I should just keep this podcast page up. The podcast updates, you guys. Stan Walker, if you guys don't know, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. Stan Walker, if you don't know who Stan Walker is, he is in New Zealand. He is a singer, a artist. He's a celebrity from New Zealand. He sings and stuff like that. I feel like you don't really know who he is here in the US unless you're Polynesian, right? Anyway, he was here performing. He had a concert here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I had a friend ask me if I wanted him on my podcast. And immediately my anxiety was like, no. So I turned down Stan Walker, but that's only because I had so much anxiety, and that was my anxiety speaking. That literally was not me. And so after a few days, I talked to a friend about this, and he told me, he just planted in my ear, which was so good, but it's too late. He's gone. And I said, no. He said that God wouldn't have put that opportunity in front of me if he knew I wasn't ready. And although I didn't feel ready, God knew I was, therefore he placed the opportunity in front of me. And I just took that, and I was like, wow, you're absolutely right. But it's too late. He's back in New Zealand. And so it's just my anxiety for the past couple weeks has just been super high, making it impossible for me to go out in public. I don't know, you guys. I'm working on it. Lately, I've been dreaming a lot about my sister. Okay, this might sound a little crazy. First of all, I've never dreamt about my sister. Trust me, for many years, my sister has never crossed my mind, not even the thought of her. And I know that sounds really shady, but I have disconnected years ago. I disconnected from my sister mentally, physically, emotionally. I disconnected, right? But lately I've been dreaming about her, and I'm not sure if it's because I mentioned her in my last podcast, or not my last podcast. Was it my last podcast? I mentioned her in a podcast earlier. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but I really want to tell you guys about these two dreams because I feel like there's definitely a message behind them that I think I've figured out. But the first dream that I had about my sister, and these happened, mind you, within a couple days apart of each other. And the first dream was me and my mom were going somewhere. We were in her truck, and I was in the back seat for some reason with my dog Miggy, and the front seat I thought was empty. So I was talking pretty much shit about my sister to my mom, as I normally have done for the past couple years, and not talking shit out of malice, but out of just frustration about her, and the effects that she has on my parents. And so in this dream, I am talking shit about my sister, just going into my mom. And then out of nowhere, I see somebody. If you're watching this, I'm doing the motion. I see somebody from the back seat. I see somebody from the front seat look back at me, and it's my sister. And then the dream ends. I woke up feeling just super weird because I was like, oh my God, my sister just clocked me talking shit about her. So I, sat on that because I was like, okay, maybe that's symbolism for me even though I'm not directly speaking negatively to my sister feels that. My sister knows that I'm doing that. And so anyway, a couple days go by and I dream about her again. And this time the dream got way more intense, and literally I just didn't know how to even like put this dream together. In this dream, in my second dream about my sister, I was at the airport. I was going on a flight. I'm not sure where, but I had a first class ticket. I was waiting in line, boarding the plane. I'm sitting there in my first class seat, waiting for my drink, watching everybody come on board, put their bags up. And as I'm sitting there and they're getting ready to close the door, a dark feeling like overcomes me in this dream. And something tells me to get off this plane because it's not going to make it to its destination. I know it sounds insane, and it felt insane, not only just in the dream, but waking up from it. And so out of a panic, I get up from my seat because I took it as God telling me to get off this plane to save myself. As I'm grabbing my bag and making a scene, telling them to let me off this plane. And as I'm walking down the aisle to get off this plane in a panic because something told me it was going to go down, my sister pops her head out in the aisle. Ooh, I'm getting the chills. She looks back and looks at me. And I stop in my tracks on this plane, looking at my sister blocking my way because her head is out looking at me. And there was a sort of desperation on her face, you guys. It was insane. And she says to me, "What's going on?" And I literally say nothing. And I moved her head out of the way. And I just went off, exited the plane. And then I woke up. And I woke up from that second dream and I was like, okay, wait a damn minute. Like, I'm getting the chills because it's like, what does this mean? I interpreted that dream as I could have saved my sister, but I didn't. I knew that plane was going down. I knew she was on a sinking ship, but I did not save her. And I left her. God knows what happened, after that dream, because it ended after I got off the plane. But like, it was so symbolic to me because I was like, wow, I feel like I had the chance to save my sister. And instead of taking the time to explain to my sister what I was feeling and what I knew was going to happen, I just didn't want my time wasted. And I just walked off the plane and left her on it. And so the next day I was talking to my cousin about these two dreams because number one, it's rare that I dream about my sister, right? Number two, the symbolism behind these dreams they were something else. The way they left me feeling, number three, it was not a good feeling. And so I asked, talk to my cousin in Hawaii, which she'll be here this week, you guys. She's coming for my birthday. I turn 32 in a couple days. And anyway, she's flying in from Hawaii, but I asked her and she pretty much told me to ask God, and she was asking me like, what do I think it meant? And I told her exactly what I thought those dreams meant. And I said, because my sister, mind you, she is in jail right now facing homicide charges. She told me to pray and ask from God something very specific, you guys. And this is where the earthly me is like, okay, no, it cannot be this simple, or it cannot work like this, And I hate to admit that, but maybe part of that is still doubt that God is even real, even though I know fully, I'm convinced in my life that he is real. He visited me and I have that testimony. There is maybe some sort of doubt that I'm not aware of in my mind, and that's where these thoughts come from. But she asked me to ask God for something very specific, and she gave me an example of what she did. And so I kind of mimicked what she did, and I literally prayed, and I said, and this was just a day after that second dream, and I asked God, I said, okay, God, if this is literally, you guys bear with me. I asked God, I said, if this is a sign that I need to go and visit my sister in jail, then show me a yellow car tomorrow. You guys, and I know that sounds wild, but bear with me. But please tell me why the next morning I woke up. And I really just asked for that as a joke. And I was like, okay, well, out of a joke, I'm going to ask for a yellow car. So in my prayer, I told God to show me a yellow car if this dream meant that I need to go and see my sister in jail. And so the next morning I wake up, going to dinner with a friend. And please tell me why the first car, you guys, I'm not even joking. The very first car that I see pulling out of my parking garage in downtown Salt Lake City is a yellow Mercedes. Bright yellow Mercedes. And I literally look at that and I just like smile because I was like, okay, that was a crazy coincidence, right? On the way to go get my friend so we can go to dinner, I see another yellow car, and it's a yellow McLaren. And I don't know if you guys know much about cars, but McLarens are really rare, probably more rare than a Lamborghini, let alone a yellow one. And so it's not just the fact that I was shown those two cars. it was what types of cars they were. Like, I just feel like God knew what attracts my eyes, because if you guys don't know this, like, I am a car fiend. Like, I have a weakness for cars. That is one thing that materially I don't think I could ever give up, just because I really enjoy the experience of driving nice, luxurious cars. And it was just the symbolism of those two first yellow cars that he showed me that was just wild. Anyway, in the car with my friend, I'm telling her, what just happened and what I prayed for. And long story short, we see two more yellow cars on the way to dinner. As I drop her off and I'm going home, I see two more yellow cars. And I still didn't believe it, because I was like, okay, this has to just be some sort of crazy coincidence, you guys. Because like I said, there might be some subconscious doubt in my head that God is even real, or that's how that even works. But in the Bible, it clearly states God demands you to tell him what you need and to tell him what you're looking for and be specific with him. And so I still didn't know how to process that. So I was like, you know what? I don't believe this. Show me a pink car. No pink car was shown. But it was just like, for me, I took that as God showing me that, yes, you are exactly right. Why you're dreaming about your sister is because you need to go visit her in jail for whatever reason. So the earthly me is like, fuck, I don't want to go visit my sister. The spiritual me is like, yes, I want to go and see my sister and just like talk to her, maybe plant a seed and just have her, pick up the Bible while she's in jail and just start reading it and share with her like my experience and how I came to Jesus. And how often do you see yellow cars, you guys? Like, sure, we might see a yellow car every day or once a week. They're not rare by all means, but the types of yellow cars that he literally showed me, the Mercedes and the McLaren, like, it was just, ooh. I just believe in my heart that was God telling me that I need to go visit my sister. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure when, but I'm still battling. My earthly body and my spiritual body is battling with that, because my earthly doesn't want to go and see her. My spiritual is telling me that I need to. So it's like, I need to learn how to kill my earthly, my earthly beings and physical wantings, and listen to my spiritual one, because the spiritual one is God. I just wanted to tell that story because God is so good. And if you ask him for signs, even though it might sound out of this world, God speaks through many ways, and and people experience him in many different ways. If you are, struggling with something or a decision in your life, pray and ask God for something. It doesn't have to be something specific, like, God, show me a black homeless. Okay, that was weird. Show me a purple car or a yellow car, but ask God and he will show you signs. And so that was my sign. Now it's just a matter of when I will go and visit my sister. I want the court date, which happens in a day after my birthday. Because we don't know, she could be out on next week, Monday. She could be out in 10 years. And so I kind of just want to wait until she gets her sentencing and charges to go in and visit her. So, oh my God, you guys, speaking of homicide, I also just learned that another one of my cousins literally just went to jail for murdering a Polynesian lady in 2022. And it finally caught up with him, my first cousin. And I'm like, oh, wow. And my family doesn't talk about this shit. Like I said in the past, we kind of come from a family of literally not talking about anything. And so my mom just sent me the news article, and that's how I found out. And I found out my dad found out while he was watching the news. And I was like, oh my God, if that is not just the perfect representation of our family and how we communicate or don't, then I don't know what is. And so anyway, just thought I'd say that it just makes me really sad that, like, I pray for my cousin, I pray for my sister, because their life is over. And I'm not saying, obviously everybody is capable of redemption by God, but like your earthly life is practically over. You know what I mean? And so it makes me really sad, because I'm like, what drives people to kill somebody? What drives people to go to that extreme? But anyway, yeah, that was random. So you either going to Google my last name and find my amazing businesses or murderers. Okay, I should not be laughing about that. That's not funny. It's not funny at all. But yeah, my family literally does not communicate about that shit. So here I am communicating it with the world. Who cares? This week has been really just rough for me, like mentally. My gosh, you guys. I've known I've always struggled with depression and anxiety and eating disorders literally my whole adolescent life and even now to this day. And I remember years ago, right? And this was after I had hit rock bottom and I was like slicing up my wrist and drinking and eating disorder taking control of my life. And that I learned that my dad had depression. And my mom told me one day, she said, yeah, your dad's always struggled with depression. And she was kind of saying it in like a shh, hush, hush way, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's great. Like I'm learning this as an adult, mind you. So instantly my mind goes back to me as an adolescent, struggling in depression, anxiety, not knowing what it was, but self-medicating, drinking alcohol just to try to make myself feel better. When this whole time my parents knew that my dad struggled with depression. And for the longest time, I did kind of have anger towards my parents about that because I was like, y'all sat here and watched me practically try to kill myself, drinking at rock bottom, no hope in life, and you didn't ever think to tell me that, oh, you're depressed, it might be depression, let me educate you on depression, let's go get you help for depression. Yes, this generation is taking a mental health a lot more serious, but like back then, I'm talking about like 10 years ago, you know, when I was an adolescent, 10, 15 years ago, mental health really was not a thing, especially in our household. And I don't even want to say Polynesian household because households in general, mental health is so taboo. You don't talk about it. You ignore it in hopes that, you know, it doesn't come and affect your kids. But I took it as like, if I was struggling with physical brain pain, right? Like if my head was in pain constantly physically, and you knew that my dad you know, had a history of like brain tumors or whatever, but you just let me sit in pain, not telling me that, oh, it could be this because your dad has this. Do you see how that can like, I don't know. So that really like affected me because I was like, oh, I struggled my whole damn adolescent life trying to self-medicate, not knowing why I was drinking or struggling with drugs or struggling with eating disorders, when all it maybe could have taken was like a conversation of like, oh, your dad has depression, it probably runs in the family, let's get this taken care of and address it. But instead it was just like ignored, and I just felt like they watched me sit at rock bottom, reaching out a hand, and didn't care to address what they already knew ran in our family. Does that make sense? And I've since forgiven my parents, not like vocally or physically, because obviously we don't talk like that, but mentally. I physically let go of all of the resentment that I've had towards my parents. You know, I also kind of went into play with like me being gay, right? Like part of the, and I just, it's another hole in the Swiss cheese, right? Like this wasn't the only reason, but it was just another hole in the Swiss cheese that made it collapse, is my sexuality. I was trying so hard to hide it and mask it, because I grew up in a religious institution that at the time was very outspoken against homosexuals. Oh my God, sinners, how dare we associate with sinners? And so I was trying to suppress that. I was drinking that away because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I didn't feel accepted by my family. I thought it was some big secret that I was trying to hide. And then I come out of the closet in high school, and my mom's first words to me were, oh, they always knew. And I was like, oh. So again, you just let me sit down there at rock bottom in depression, drinking, eating disorder, thinking I was hiding this, when all you could have done was just talk to me and say, we know why you're struggling, we know you're gay, and blah, blah, blah. No, still have scars on my wrist, and I'm like, period, battle scars. So I'm like, wow. So I'm not, like I said, I've forgiven my parents, but it's just like by us not addressing our traumas, and I'm talking about like my parents, it is low key passed down to our kids by not addressing it. And so it's just a pattern, and it's an exhausting pattern, especially when you are this generation. And I would never, if one of my nieces or nephews, started struggling with alcohol or eating disorders, or I knew something about them that I knew was bringing down their mental health, I would completely speak to them. But that's just the difference of generations, I guess. And we can't expect our parents we can't go back in time and change things. And so, like I said, I've since forgiven my parents and just let go of all of the resentment that I had towards those two situations, because it just ties into how we are today about just with our family. And my sister, just nonchalantly with her homicide charges, and, so much going on in my family that nobody talks about. And in a way, I'm kind of glad, because Polynesian families can be very gossipy, but I admire my best friend's family. I've always admired my best friend's family like that. My best friend and I, we went to elementary together. We practically grew up together. She is pretty much my ride or die, but so are all of her siblings. She comes from a big family. I think they have like 6, 7, 8 siblings, but I consider all of them my siblings and I grew up super close to them. And so I always admired her family for that, that all the time when we're together, her siblings are calling her because they need something or because they just want to talk to her. And she's like irritated because they're calling her. And I'm like, oh, wow, but that's actually kind of nice. Like I always tell her, like, here you are complaining about your siblings calling you and like, I get, I'm out here alone feeling, and I'm not like projecting that onto her, but I just like wish people were more thankful for like what they have, because some of us out here feel like we have no one. And I'm not saying I'm lonely or like I have nobody, but like sometimes I do wish, well, not anymore, but I used to wish all the time that I was like close to like my cousins and I had siblings that I was closer with, but I'm just like, maybe that was not God's purpose for me here on this earth. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but going along with that, I feel like ever since I found God and started sharing my testimony, sorry, getting emotional. I feel like ever since I found God and have a testimony now, I feel like I have God, but I'm losing everyone. And I don't know how to process that. I was reading this book by Preston Perry, and it had a quote in it that I just loved, and I just want to share it because it put exactly what I've been feeling into words. And it's a quote from Paul Washer that says, "We hypocritically applaud men for seeking the truth, but call the public execution of anyone arrogant enough to believe he has found it." And when I read that, it just like hit me, because I was like, that's exactly how I feel, like put into words, like my whole life, I did not have a testimony of God. I didn't even believe in God. I felt accepted. I felt like truly loved, truly. But the second I started to find truth and speak the true gospel of Jesus Christ, I've just noticed a separation, a distance. They haven't done anything to make me feel like that relationship has changed, but it's just spiritually, I don't feel as close to them at all. And I feel a little bit like on the outside now, because I have shared my testimony and shared the true gospel of Jesus Christ. That is met with a little bit of distance. I realize that I would rather have and know God and lose everybody than not know him at all and have everyone. Not even just like friends, but like family as well. Like I just feel a little shunned, you know what I mean? And I just think it's sad that when I didn't have God in my life or didn't have a testimony, I had everyone. I am looking at it, or trying to look at it in a positive way, and just like the Bible says, all of our trials and tribulations here, we have to look at as God just strengthening our testimonies and preparing us for something more. And that's really all I can lean and rely on right now is God. And although I don't seek happiness anymore from like people or material things or even follower count on Instagram or likes or views, like obviously it's a process, right? To remove your physical self from those things that don't matter. And so I'm working on it. I'm trying, I'm doing, and I will just say to end that little segment that I am literally at a place in my life right now where I'm willing to lose everyone in my life. If me speaking the truth and sharing my testimony means that I'm losing everyone, then I am willing to do that, because like I said, I'm seeking comfort and I'm seeking love through Jesus. And he always comes through when you don't feel it from your family members or your friends. He's always there. He's consistent. He's the one true God. God is good, but God is good all the time, not just when things are good. Even when things seem to be going wrong, God is still good. And there's always a lesson behind that, because I always think about the story of Job. I'm going to go back a little bit, and how God allowed Satan to test Job, right? And so anytime trials or tribulations come to me now, I think of it as like, okay, this is a trial of faith. God is allowing Satan to test me with people in my life or emotions or whatever I may be feeling. And as long as I stay faithful to God, I know that he will bless me with more than I've had before. And so kind of feel like I'm in that process right now. Have you guys watched Love on the Spectrum? I know this took a turn, but I have been in love with Love on the Spectrum since the first season came out. And I just think people with autism are so innocent and like I have a couple friends that have children with autism that are on the spectrum, and I just like absolutely love them and think there's something so endearing about them, and they're so innocent, and they're just so real and so raw, you know. And I often think like, why can't we all approach love like these autistic, like these individuals on the spectrum do, where it's like they don't care about looks, they don't care about anything else except the intellect that somebody has and if their vibe matches. And why do I want autism now? After watching the last season, you guys, if you guys have not watched Love on the Spectrum, I highly recommend watching at least the last season. The last episode, oh my God, I was in tears, bitch. I was ready to go to the doctor and get my autism diagnosis so I can apply for season 4. I love them so much. But speaking of that, I am out here dating. Well, I don't know if you would consider it dating, but funny story, I downloaded Hinge. You know, I'm always on and off of these damn apps because I get bored. I'm like, ugh, whatever. And I actually downloaded Hinge when I was in California because my friend wanted to like spy on, he wanted to just make sure the guy he was talking to was in fact not on Hinge. I know, like, are we five? But so I downloaded Hinge and, you know, just kind of kept it from California. But when I got back home to Utah, I noticed that there was like literally 70 guys that liked me waiting for me to swipe on them. And I was like, okay, hold up. Maybe I just was in the wrong state here in Utah, you know? So I start swiping. Long story short, I found someone, his name, I don't want to say his name, but we've been talking pretty much since I got back from California. So for a couple weeks, he gave me his phone number. We've texted, we've had phone calls, we've talked, and it's going well, you guys. I am not out here looking for a soulmate. You know, if that's God's plan for me, if God is going to send me another gay man of God, then I will accept that. But I'm not out here seeking it, you know? And so the only thing though is that this guy, and if you don't know anything about me, like clearly I'm gay, right? But we assume that like gay people all have the same political beliefs and like that they're probably liberal or democratic or far more to the left, but I could not be farther from that. I'm actually very conservative in my views. I vote Republican a lot of the time. I don't want to say too much, but like I don't consider myself a liberal. I don't consider myself a Democrat. I am a conservative. I have conservative views. And you know what's funny is since I started reading the Bible, my views only got more conservative. Like, and I was more so conservative for the business side of things and the numbers and the taxes and stuff, because social issues really, I never really gave a shit about until I started reading the Bible. And now my views on so many things on like just there, I'm so conservative. What I'm trying to say is I am conservative. And so I find out, you know, that this person that I'm speaking to, he's in the military, he lives in California, but he's very liberal. And so on our first phone call, he was like talking about like Trump, you know, and like going in on Trump and just really nasty things about Trump. And I'm just on this phone call like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't really know what to say. It was kind of awkward because I'm like, low key, I kind of love this guy, Trump. But here he is, like, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything because things are going well. And if I'm being honest, he is, and we're just a couple weeks into it. I'm not in love. I don't even have a feeling. Like, I'm not catching feelings. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep quiet because things are going well. And if I literally were to be honest, like he's perfect from what I've experienced. You know, I haven't obviously met him in person, but he's perfect right now. Our conversation is amazing. It's just that one little detail of us having completely different political beliefs and being on two completely different spectrums because he is a liberal and I am hella not, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, is that going to be a point of contention in the future? Like eventually, obviously I'm going to voice my opinion and what I think, but I just feel like it's a little too early on to like cause a rift. You know what I mean? I'm like in my head, you know, I posted this on Instagram before I deleted it. We're going to get there. And I was like, is this a deal breaker for you guys? And I know of a few couples that are married actually where the husband votes one way and the wife votes another and they make it work. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying that gay people are overly sensitive and cry about everything. And I am not. Literally just got done crying. But like about social issues that it's like, ooh, I don't know. How do I approach this with like compassion and like share with him my views? And low key, I feel like I can convert him to the bright side. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe he's just never been introduced to a gay conservative and he doesn't know what we believe or why we believe what we believe, right? I look at it a lot like religion. Like, yes, we can look at the other side, meaning a different religion and think they're like insane or crazy that they actually believe that. but you have to actually get to know people and why they believe the way they believe in order for you to even break through to them. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm like, okay, maybe God sent me in his life, and I'm not trying to, make me a savior or whatever. I definitely don't have a savior complex, but maybe we're in each other's lives for a reason. It's going well, and we'll just see where it goes. And so anyway, recently, I've just been having a really strong prompting, and this prompting has been with me for like 3 weeks. It's been a strong prompting, and the reason that I know it's God is because if it was just a thought that I had, the thought would have went away. But it's a repeated thought. It's a repeated feeling that I've had to delete Instagram. I think I mentioned this in a prior podcast episode, but that feeling never went away. That prompting, that voice in my head to delete my Instagram just never went away. And so I did. I deactivated my Instagram account. I deactivated my Facebook account, and I completely removed myself, with the exception of my podcast page. I'm still going to keep my Instagram podcast page up there, but I've kind of tried to piece together why I've been getting this prompting, you guys. And you guys know I've talked about this before. I struggle with sleep. And like I said, it's just another hole in the Swiss cheese. This wasn't the only reason that I deleted my social media, but it was just another hole in the Swiss cheese that made it collapse. And I just realized that lately I have been getting so distracted by Instagram and what I've been seeing and what people have been posted, that it's really distracting me from my own journey and from God. And again, I just feel like this is another way that God is isolating me and separating me from, my old self to prepare me for what I'm about to step into. And I'm not even sure exactly what I'm about to step into, but I just know that God is removing me from my old self. And me deleting social media was just another step in that. But I just realized that just like for the past, I would say month or two, like I have been so consumed with social media. And yes, social media in a way literally does apply directly to how I make a living with my businesses, because how I market my business is social media. And I always said, like, if I had a business that didn't require me to be visible on social media to survive and have a leg to stand on, then I would have deleted social media by now, right? But that just wasn't the case with my businesses. And so I relied on social media for so long to market my business and, get the name out there. And so that was really my main priority for social media, and regardless of the content I would make. And so I just literally just felt so anxious and like depressed about that prompting, you guys. But I was laying in bed, like literally I will sit in bed and lay and scroll until like 5 a.m. and I'll just scroll on Instagram, and I'm like, can I not sleep because I'm on Instagram, or is Instagram the reason that I'm not sleeping? You know what I mean? And so I just, I decided to just deactivate my account. And also just along with that, like, I just feel like as I'm on this journey, as beautiful and amazing it is to share, that also shifts people's views of you. I just feel like while I'm on this journey, like I just need to, not everything has to be public, and for me, if I'm on social media, which I have been on for 30 damn years, it seems, I'm sharing my journey. That can be part of somebody's appeal on social media, is that they share everything, but it also can be a big part of a downfall. I just feel that for me, and I'm not saying social media is a bad thing, but how we use it can definitely be a bad thing. And for me, it was getting to the point where I was so focused on just speaking the truth. Yes, you should do that. And we are stewards of God, and we are made in his image, and we should preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. But it got to a point where you just start preaching on deaf ears, because no shade. And if you guys are LDS and you're listening to this, I love you guys. I truly do. I have let all my anger towards, the LDS religion. Like it's gone. But I look at LDS people as, okay, not even LDS. Okay, I'm not even going to categorize you guys. And I love you guys. Okay, I love you. But I look at like Jehovah's Witness, LDS, Muslim. I look at them as like the liberals of the religious world. You know what I mean? Like you say one bad or negative thing about their beliefs and it's a complete cutoff. And so I struggled with that for a minute, because I will even talk to my cousin about this. I'm like, I feel like I'm sharing the true gospel of Jesus Christ, but I also feel like I'm being met with just people that are blocking me, unfollowing me, people in my life that just like don't want anything to do with me anymore. And I'm like, that doesn't feel good, and if me sharing the true gospel of Jesus Christ leads to people leaving my life in that manner, then so be it. But it just took me a minute to like process, And so just going back to the social media thing, I left social media just because I feel like it wasn't serving me. And it's been the best decision that I've made all year. I'm not even joking, other than obviously continuing my journey to God and reading the Bible. But because of social media, you guys, I just realized like my screen time or my app time on my phone, you guys on Instagram, you know how you can go on screen time and look at what apps you're spending the most time. Guess how much mine was? 13 hours a day I was on Instagram. Is that not insane? And yes, like social media, like I said, is like part of my business and my job and me marketing. But I'm like, okay, I actually think I'm just using that as an excuse now. And I was just over consuming. And there's many Bible verses that speak about Satan being a consumer. I had a whole episode about this on my podcast about Satan being a consumer. God is the creator of all things. He creates, and Satan is a consumer. He consumes your soul. And so there I was consuming for weeks straight. And it just like didn't feel good. It led to me not sleeping. It led to me not working out. It led to me, I just got a text. People are noticing I'm not on social media and they're like, I hope we're okay. Well, I haven't been for a long time. But, you know, people need that physical representation, I guess, of just somebody disappearing to be like, oh, maybe something is wrong. Maybe he's not all happy and joyous all the time and yippity doo all day. Like, okay, sorry, I was sidetracked. But I just came to a point where it started to consume me. I started to take on the traits of Satan, where I was just consuming everything, and I wasn't creating anything. I wasn't creating space for myself. I wasn't creating helpful content. I wasn't creating love for people who don't feel loved by God. I wasn't creating a safe place for other people to voice their opinions for me. I was just consuming. And so I removed myself from social media, and it's been the best thing that I have done all year. It's only been 3 days since I removed myself from social media, Instagram and Facebook. And I'm halfway through a book that I've been wanting to finish, and I'm almost done with the Bible. I've just been reading. I've been in his word literally for 3 days straight. Today I read my Bible for 5 hours, and it just felt amazing. You know, I would be spending that time on social media had I had social media on my phone. But because I don't, it's forcing me to do these things that I put on the back burner for too long. Obviously in flight school, I've been dragging my feet with that. And so it's pushing and forcing me to do things that I've just, like I said, been put on the back burner. And I feel like that's God. I feel like God gave me the prompting to completely remove myself from Instagram and the worldly possessions, you know, and material, earthly things. And so I did. And since then, like and it might sound crazy, you know, but like I literally don't even care about numbers anymore, like followers or views or likes. I just got rid of a page that had almost 17,000 followers, and I don't even care. I feel amazing. And I'm not saying it's a permanent thing. Obviously, you know, it's 2025. I am going to be back on social media, but I feel like for where I am at right now in my journey, in this specific time, this is exactly what I need to just completely separate myself from distractions. You know, I fight so hard for people. I fight so hard for the underdog, right? I fight so hard. Like my mom, I was getting ready to expose this realtor that did us dirty on social media. So I was just like, okay, wait a minute. Like I've spent so much time fighting for other people on social media that I just forgot to fight for myself. And so this is me fighting for myself, removing myself from social media, and really just tunnel vision with God. And even in like the book that I'm reading, this is a book from Preston Perry. It's How to Tell the Truth, the story of how God saved me to win hearts, not just arguments. And the title of this book, first of all, couldn't be more perfect for me, but the contents of it, my God, I sat here for 5 hours with my Bible and that book, just like studying and really getting to know God and his word and deep diving in the Bible, right? And it's been like even the verses that I'm reading, like in the book, just matched up timely with where I'm at in the Bible. And I'm like, another one of those moments where I just look up and I'm like, damn, God, you are so good. Like never fails to amaze me that, you know, and reassure me that he is listening and that there is a God. And anyway, I just feel so amazing with that decision. Will I get back on social media? Obviously, of course, in the future, but I don't have like an exact plan or date. But also, it's pushed me to just like go hard on this podcast page and really get to know God and focus on my Bible journey and create actual content that's going to create value for other people and not just be a consumer in the world. And so that is what I kind of want to end this on, is that God was a creator. And if we're not creating things that will create things in other people, positive things, then we're consuming. I've already seen how God like stripped me of my yearning for money and stripped me of my yearning for nice material possessions. And now I see it, with my reputation. And it's like a lot of the time, like we try to protect our reputation rather than defend God. I am just making a promise to myself that I will not neglect myself and that I will always fight for myself first before I can even extend that to other people. And so I feel really good. My birthday is coming up. I am turning 32. My cousin Kehal, the one who turned me onto the Bible, will actually be here. She's flying in tomorrow, and we definitely are going to get a podcast episode. And I'm excited for you guys to meet her. I'm excited for you guys to, I don't know, me and my cousin were electric together. We were electric together with our crystals and burning sage and tarot cards. We're just electric together now with God. And I'm excited for you guys to see that on the next episode. And so anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Episode 11 is over and out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye guys.